Hello, everyone. Welcome back, listeners, to another issue of StarrCast Podcast. So we're recording this in mid-December, and it is in the Northern Hemisphere, the time of year when we have the most darkness, and it made me think about a really good fit for this time of year for our episode was something I've discovered just in the last month, and I thought it was so interesting. It's a darkness retreat. Now, this isn't the first of darkness retreats, but it's going to be the best of darkness retreats. So I have with me two guests, AJ Stepaniak, who is the creator and owner of Sparrowland Capital and Within, the Ultimate Darkness Retreat, and Diederik van Middelkoop, the business development advisor. So thank you for joining us, gentlemen.
Thank you for inviting us.
Thank you for having us.
So, darkness retreat. Diederik, you reached out to me and told me about this, and I thought, wow, that's something new. I've been in this industry for decades, and I never heard of a darkness retreat, so I started to look into it. You and I talked, and here it is a whole thing where you go and stay in darkness. AJ, I'm going to ask you to explain it better to us. You're the one that came up with the idea for Within, and I love that you named it that. You're a finance guy. Like, how did you get into the darkness retreat business?
Well, throughout my life, I've been an entrepreneur. So I started very early at the age of 19. And, it turned out that I was very successful in a young age. So in early 20s, I was already employing thousands of people and operated in different industries. Then I graduated from law faculty, became advocate, also created big law firm in Poland. So, I was a constant doer. And financial industries was a part of the game. I was also in medical sector. I was also in logistics and a few others. It's in agriculture, food processing. So, for me, it was never enough. You see, I drove, throughout my life on this paradigm that if I only close this deal, which was always in front in the future, it will make me satisfied. And finally, I will slow down, I will settle, and that will be all right, and all the different kind of troubles that I thought I had will disappear. And, later, you realize in your life, and it was about when I turned 40, so that it's not enough to gather physical things, houses, cars, titles. When I appeared in Forbes magazine for the second time, I knew it was not this, and nothing was actually this. Nothing could give me lasting satisfaction. So I started sports. So I did, Ironman, and because I wanted to be fit and this, and then I went into spirituality. So I hang out with, new age spirituality like Wim Hof, did the cold exposure with him, wanted to become an Iceman, another batch, another achievement, and, meditated for long, but nothing gave me the true satisfaction except for once when I was in extreme cold with Wim. It was close to 30 minutes. Suddenly, towards the end of this experience, my mind stopped. So I could hear and see everything. I could see the birds flying and the leaf moving all in the same time, so clear. But there was no narrative. See? There was no, voice in my head explaining what I'm seeing. I got warm, it got light. But of course, we finished cold exposure, extreme cold exposure, and then it was really quite dramatic and traumatic for me. And I wanted to get back. I wanted to get back this feeling.
That feeling of near death when you can't think of anything.
Stayed longer in this water, this warmth and the light, it was something, when you stay more than 20 minutes, your organs start to shut down.
Yes, they do.
On train and first, kidneys, then the lungs. And so luckily nothing like that happened to me. But, I started to meditate long, and I wanted to get this feeling, that I am absolutely present, but there is no narrative in it. It doesn't matter how long I stayed solo or I did Vipassana or, quiet time. never worked. My mind always was operating. And then suddenly I found out about darkness retreat, you see. And when I heard about it, instantly I knew it was for me. And I checked in with Sky Cave Retreat in Oregon in US. And, when I came out, it was different.
How long was your first darkness session?
I went to the darkness on Monday and I left on Friday. So it was 4 days in the darkness.
You really do it the hard way the first time around, don't you, AJ?
Yeah, I did a really hard way. It was without any preparation. So when I arrived, I just, walk in. It was, if you wish, I can tell you that it is a little bit humorous story about it because.
Yes, I do wish. Tell us, please.
So when Scott picked me up from the airport, he said if I want to eat something, and I traveled from Europe with, it was more than 20 hours flight, and so I was not hungry, I was like, and so he ate something, and then we went, and it was quite a long drive, 2 hours in the mountains. I pick up my phone. He said, I don't bother. There was no reception.
No cell.
So we arrived and, it was this wooden, doors and the stones, and we go down, with the stairs, and then there is a darkness cabin. And so, I was in my old life, and all my behaviors. And so I said, okay, all right. So where can I check in? Where is the reception? And where can I eat something? And he said, no, this is it. So, you feel comfortable and I come in the evening and bring you food and you might start. And I said, what? I said, okay. So if I'm going to stay here, for me, it was like, I always wanted to get something. I always wanted to be efficient at the time. So I said, you know what? Let's start it now. He said, are you sure?
You're not one to wait, I'm sure.
And he said, it's quite, without any preparation, you don't know the space. It will be pitch black. And I said, listen, I'm an Iron Man.
Mm-hmm. I can do anything.
It didn't convince him at all. Then I'm going like, do you know him, home? He said, no. I said, I am an Iceman, not convinced. Then I just pulled my, my joker. I said, listen, I called you from Swiss number, but originally I come from Poland.
Mm-hmm.
Scott goes, from Poland? Then you can go. Okay.
If you're Polish, you can do anything.
Yes. So this is how it started. It was wonderful. And that's how I started my first darkness.
So you came out on Friday and you said, this is amazing. Or did you have to think about it for a few days? Like, what was it immediate that you felt like this was something you wanted to pursue?
It was immediate. Scott recorded me. This was what happened in the darkness for me was lasting. I had this inner joy and bliss. And I said, please, I would love to meet your wife. For obvious reasons. I knew he was ahead, but I also kind of, my life experience told me who is a knack. I said, okay, please, I would like to speak to you both.
Uh-huh.
And then, I told them, listen, guys, it's wonderful what you do. It's transforming. And I know how many people it can serve. And let's roll it to the world. Let's do it together. And they said, okay, it's really shocking. How will we do it? We are here in Oregon, in the middle of nowhere. I said, I have, experience to run big organization, roll things out. And they say, okay, let us think about it. And week or 2 or 3 later, they came back and say, no, we want to stay here in Oregon. We want to build this, and this is our life. We have house here, and we don't. It is appealing to bring it to the world, but you go and do it. I came back. I kind of had no choice, and then a few months later, because still I was running my old life, which needed to be kind of closed. I started to do the drawings, to think what kind of program we can do, which I believed would be, more efficient than individual program. So I'm talking about a group darkness experience. whereby you do the darkness solo, but the preparation and integration part is in the group. I knew from my past experience, especially working, in a mental health space. I was running rehabs for addicted clients, and I knew how fast they, recover in the group. And I also knew the power of, AA and NA. Even though I was, I haven't suffered from addiction, I knew how people wonderful heal together.
No, you're right. There's something about that group dynamic and the idea that the way that you do it sounds more appealing than just going on your own. So how long, AJ, from when that you had that conversation with the folks in Oregon to, when were the next steps? I guess you had to decide, well, I want to open this. Where in the world will I put it? And how much land do I need? Talk to us about that whole process.
Listen, something was pushing me. I don't want to use, big words, because we are all bombarded with, different type of words like universe, higher power, or God. And we know that, the God that has a name is not the God. You cannot identify, define the higher power, which is indefinable. Nevertheless, something was pushing, so I got out in January 23, and in summer 23, I decided to step down as a chairman of big law firm and chairman of an investment company and other of my positions. And, I said, okay, I have a piece of land in Poland. I'm Polish by origin. And even though I live for more than a decade in Switzerland, it will be easiest there because the people know me, they trust me. And we got, we got building permit, all the permissions and zoning in a life. We couldn't believe how fast authorities were responding. They didn't know, actually. You see what I mean? And we started construction in the early 24. And, in the late autumn 24, we had a first cabin. And February of this year, so 1 year after, we had 5 cabins running full of clients.
Amazing.
We run many investments, and I have never done investment process from starting to an end within a year plus, couple of months. So it was a light speed, but it was it was so much kindness that I experienced. And it was like, unbelievable. So imagine this, we are getting building permit. I said, okay, now we have a building permit. We have to start looking for a construction company. And, the man that I met, he said, listen, okay, let me bring someone. And the next day I'm speaking to the owner of the construction company. And he says, yes, this is incredible. What do you want to do? We come tomorrow. From the building permit in 3 days, I think the construction, and we didn't have a contract. So they started digging while we were drafting the contract. He said, I trust you. I see what you want to do. And I heard it over and over again. I trust you. I see what you want to do.
I love that. I love that the universe was pushing you and it was all the doors were opening easily, it sounds like. Let's talk about the design. Because your spaces are very thoughtfully designed. I mean, what made you think, I can see how fast your brain works, but you left the place in Oregon and thinking, how can I make it better or different, right, than what I experienced? And so the idea of a group doing it together but separately was part of that. And also, I think, a very careful design and architecture of the space.
I know how it would sound, but I dreamed about this place. And then I got the designers and co-founder of Within, my partner Kinga. And I said, listen, I know how it has to look like. It has to be all rounded inside and it has to be intuitive. So when you move, touching the walls, you can move wherever. You can go, to wash your hands. You can go to the bathroom. You can go to shower, back to the meditation area or your bed. It has to be all intuitive. And I see it light, rounded, high ceiling. And that's what they came out. First was architecture drawing, again in a light speed. The guy was working day and night with the weekend. It was incredible. Then Kinga, put her magic. She's very, very talented. And that's how it came out. So the idea was, it was not in the opposition because, I have to give tribute to all the darkness retreats which were before me. And maybe they didn't have resources, you see. Maybe they didn't have resources. Maybe they didn't have experience, in architecture design and so on and so forth. So I didn't do anything in opposition. I did it the other way. I said, okay, how can I do it that it will serve modern spirituality?
Mm-hmm.
So, in the old paradigm was that, in spirituality, you have to put yourself into discomfort, you see? And I don't believe that.
You don't believe about the discomfort?
I don't believe about discomfort. We have enough discomfort and pain and suffering in our lives, either physical or mental, throughout, overstimulation, overinformation, and everything what has happened in our life. We live in quite busy times.
Yes.
And I believe that if something is comfortable and safe, now we speak. So your mind cannot start narrative about discomfort in the darkness because it's so comfortable. So now you ask yourself the question, who am I?
That's really interesting approach.
Everything is perfect. The food is perfect. We did so much, effort to make wonderful way of bringing food, and the food is government. We took the best chefs. The space is comfortable. So you are there and now you can observe your mind.
Mm-hmm.
The self-realization, I'm not my body, I'm not my mind, brings immense amount of freedom. But the next step, the step of awakening is to find out who you really are if you are not your mind, you're not your body. So what is there left? If the thought process and the narrative, which is typically, about comparing this and that, like it, not like it, it's mine or mine, feels good or doesn't feel good. You see, they bring us to this, my energy or no, toxic. It's all judgment. It's not feeling. It's feeling. People feel, and they believe they feel. No, they're just judging. And it has a different, different suit, different wearing today. In the darkness, there is nothing, and there is no one to watch. It's you.
So it sounds like the way you've designed it, you bring people to that introspective place more quickly because they are comfortable and they know they'll be fed and cared for. So that worry is not there. It's time to turn inside. Did you make a prototype, AJ, or did you just start building the first cabin?
No, the prototype was in my head. I put the first cabin in. And then this was the prototype, to be honest. We tweaked, we checked it, everything is perfect. And then we gave a goal for the next 4. So right now we have 5 cabins. To be frank with you, we are in the process of to build another 5. So by March and next year, in 3-4 months, there will be 10 cabins. So after the first one, we tweaked. Because there are a lot of details. So, the size, but also the air, so the air is always fresh, and it's warm, it's a floor heating and it's adjustable. There are many, many details that if you want to create this perfect space, you have to do the first one, first and trust and adapt.
How many square meters is one of the cabins? 38. So that's about a little under 400 square feet for American listeners. So larger than your average hotel room. And it has in it a bed and a bathroom, I guess.
Bathroom space. So you've got a huge, shower, and you've got a toilet and sink, eating area, and meditation area.
So when you welcome the guests, you welcome them with the lights on, right? Can you talk to us about how that process of how you sort of learn your way around your space before the dark comes?
If you allow me, I would like to ask Diederik to tell what was his experience, because before starting working with us, Diederik did his darkness retreat and he did the program step by step. So
that's a perfect way to introduce it. Yes.
That's a good segue. Yeah, so the program is very carefully thought out, and AJ's assembled a great team of very caring people The care within is very present. They're very professional. They take their time with you. They also realize that for a lot of people, it's completely new, just like for you. It's like, what? Darkness retreat? So even when you're attracted to it, or if you feel you really need this, and I was there in a group with 4 ladies as it happened, and we all had our reason for being there, but all of us were welcomed in exactly the same way. You immediately feel among equals and very well treated in the heart of Poland, in a beautiful old farmhouse. And then you're escorted to your cabin, and that's where you'll stay in darkness. And the lovely retreat manager that was with our group, Mikal, who's just a lovely, lovely man. He takes his time with you. He explains everything, any question you might have. He makes you feel at ease. Because, mind you, even though I was a little bit prepared, obviously I'd spoken to AJ before, and I'd done a little bit of research, as you do. You come into this beautiful place because these cabins and in Poland they're built like bunkers. They're very impressive. They're beautifully built, wonderfully designed, but it's also this bunker that stares at you, and now you're going to go in and you know that the door is going to close. So there is a bit of a threshold, I guess, psychologically for you to step over. But I can say that after my first night, and also the way I was treated and the way I was guided and everything was explained, I mean, there's so many details that they've done perfectly, that you feel incredibly safe. And that's no accident, obviously. Safety is paramount if you're going to have people stay in a dark space for 72 hours or longer. And that was amazing. So after that first night in the dark, where you don't actually start the retreat yet, but you're slowly getting into it. You have your first night in darkness, and it is dark, Lisa. It's darkness like you've never experienced. It's pitch black. You can't see your hand in front of your eyes. It's really dark. So the first time that happens, you're a bit overwhelmed by it, but then you sleep in it, and then you realize, because of everything AJ just explained about the place, there's nothing else to worry about. There's nothing else to think about. You're in a perfect space. You're in perfect darkness, literally perfect darkness. So it turns from something that was maybe a bit scary or something that you felt a little apprehension to something that is absolutely benign, friendly, and even protective. You're in a very safe space, and you're going to be in that safe space for quite some time with absolutely nothing to do. Or not necessarily, well, it'll be you and your thoughts, you and your body, and just like AJ explained, see how you go. And I luckily went in with not too many expectations. What is another good thing is that you have something of a psychological assessment. So there's trained psychologists that really take you by the hand, first in an intake conversation online, but then also before you enter. So
is this all happening in the farmhouse?
The physical meeting and intake, yes, is there. And within Poland, it's a farmhouse. Anywhere else in the world, who knows what?
There will be some other building, but you're meeting, in a separate space and doing all of this preparatory work.
Exactly. And there also you have your communal meals, so the group that you go, ultimately you go your separate ways, but you have the group, you get to know each other before you go into darkness. And then you come out and you have your meals with them again, and you share your experience, and it's absolutely wonderful. Also, a lot of people who've done this will tell you, well, the only way I can really relate to people is by other people who also did this, because it's so remarkably special. It's such a remarkable standout moment in your life where you are with yourself in darkness that other people who've done the same thing immediately relate. So that's a shared experience. And like AJ mentioned, that really helps everything, really. The integration, the feeling comfortable. I have to say that I didn't go in with hugely traumatic experience. So in that sense, I wasn't expecting to meet something incredibly dark, or I didn't have too many monsters under the bed, so to say. So for me, maybe that made it somewhat easier, if you will. But it's a beautiful confrontation with yourself, I have to say. And they do everything at the retreat to make you feel loved, cared for, and comforted. It's very special.
It seems very smart to have the bookends of a group experience. And AJ, I'm sure you missed that on your first time being just thrust into the dark, unprepared and on your own. But luckily your mental health training let you know that there's probably a better way to do that, at least for you. So you all arrive, you go to a shared space, you have your intakes, you're escorted to your cabin. When you're escorted to your cabin the first time, the lights are on.
Yeah, the lights are on. You voluntary turn off the light. Diederik didn't tell you what was behind the design of this kind of program. So the first day we teach your brain throughout experience to create the neural connections that this is a safe place. How do we do that? You turn off the light, you stay for a while in the darkness, the familiarization, and then yourself, you turn on the light, go out. Then you go for the meal. We don't, put one by one what we want to achieve. Then you sleep your first night, and guess what? You go out for the group session, which is a meditation, breath work.
Right.
So if I tell you right now, Lisa, let's go into the darkness, I will put you into this cabin. It's going to be, and I come in 3 or 4 days, or, I'll be coming every day. But, it's like jumping into dark water. You're afraid.
Yes.
Everyone is afraid. We have this primal, fear of darkness. 2,000-3,000 years ago, it's in ourselves. And what is it? 2,000-3,000 years ago, someone could eat us in darkness.
Right.
So this is natural, but if you jump to this dark water, 1 second and third time you jump with the loop, right? Because you know it's all right. It's like jumping to the water from high. The same is with darkness, you see? So we want participants to come into the darkness, stay in the darkness, voluntarily go out, come back, go out. And then they know it's a safe place where I can follow the light, where I can always leave. No one is locking me in this cabin. The cabin can only be locked from the inside, not from the outside. That's how they design. Yeah, last but not least, you also get familiar. We have a panic button and we have, a mic, which you can press and you can contact, security that we have on site. I noticed that none of the darkness retreats in the world has it. So you have, several steps of security. Because for us, as Diederik said, safety is first. This is the most important. If you feel safe, then you can process.
No, that seems like a great process, AJ. So the experience begins with you feeling you control it. You have the chance to learn your space without it being completely dark. We arrive, we have our communal time, meal, spend the first night, have breakfast, then you go back in. And you turn the light off yourself.
This is the fundamental rule.
The control.
Light yourself, close the doors yourself.
And how long do most people, what's the program options for this? How many hours or days can you stay or would you stay?
So there are 2 options. There is a 6-day program with 3 days in the darkness plus 2 days preparation and 1 day integration. Or 7 days program with 4 days in the darkness, plus 2 days preparation, 1 day integration. There are two programs that we run. And of course, this is basic. Sometimes we allow for longer stays.
Longer than 4 days in the dark?
Yes. For those who did this in the past and they would like to go deeper. So we have participants like that. We have requests like that.
Tell me about eating. You have a hatch, the food is delivered. How many times a day? Where do you eat? How does that work?
Yeah, sure. So the food is amazing. So it's locally produced. It's all organic. Chefs are amazing. And you get it in these beautiful cardboard, sustainable boxes. You have this. So you saw this picture of the hatch. Then below the hatch is a little bench, if you will, also with rounded corners. So everything is safe. And you have your little poof there. So most people will sit on their knees. You take it out of the hatch as it's being brought. And what they explain to you in the beginning is these are the kinds of food that will be there, and they will be in these different sort of sizes. So you feel already, you get a sense of, I've got this will have tea, this will have another type of tea, this will be water, this will probably have nuts in it. This will be more vegetables. And so you order them on your bench, on your knees, on your little poop, all relaxed, and you just feel your way. And you only need to do that once. And basically it's in your head, because they come every day around noontime, and they bring you more food than you will ever eat in that day, because it's fantastic food. And one of the complaints that we had was like, I wanted to eat more, but I was just fooled. But it was so spectacular that we kind of felt like it was a waste. But then he has all these beautiful animals on the estate that live very, very grand of wonderful food. So, but it's a very simple ritual. And what is really funny is your relationship with food becomes different, and food becomes your friend.
Well, I was just going to say, if you can't see it, it's all about the taste.
All of it, and texture, and you sit there with your hands, and you don't have to worry about, I'm gonna have to shower again. Yeah, well, what else are you gonna do? Of course, shower again. Lovely. So it's in the dark. Your relationship with the actual things in front of you, the tactile senses, all these things become very strong, very present, and it's lovely. And everybody who's ever done mindfulness trainings knows how present that can make you. And so for people who do mindfulness, I will tell them this is mindfulness on smack, or mindfulness squared. You are so drawn to those things because everything else is no longer there. And I've enjoyed food in a spectacular way in darkness.
So the food is delivered once per day. And I would guess then that contributes to the participant kind of losing the cadence of time and, it's dinner, it's breakfast. Is that intentional, AJ, in the design of the program?
Yes, it is. It is. After 24 hours, you lose track of time. The only moment during this 24 hours is when the retreat counselor is coming with the food and also to talk, if you wish to talk. And so, I believe in power of nothingness.
Mm-hmm.
There is immense power in this void, if you allow for that. So we deliberately don't deliver 3 times or 4 times a day, not to disturb the processes, because some of the processes are quite deep.
So I get my food, I sort it, I eat it. Diederik, what else do I do? Now I'm into my first day. I've got my food and it's dark and I'm doing handstands. Like, you have 2 more days to go.
You listen to AJ, who will tell you, don't do it.
Yeah.
See what happens.
Well, there is a lot of don't do anything. Some people, obviously the experience is not the same for everyone. I didn't sleep all that much during those 72 hours because I didn't feel the need to. I relaxed. I meditated. I did a lot of meditating. I did small exercises. So I just kept myself busy when I wanted to be a little busy. I must have showered 20 times in those 72 hours. Do I want to eat another bite? Maybe I'll have another bite. Maybe I'll do a little exercise. It's all just little conversations, see what we're going to do next. Other people, I know that one of the ladies who was, she came from Michigan actually, and she was just in need of a lot of sleep. And this was the best place in the world for her and the best circumstances possible. She says, I was naked and sleeping. And that was the best thing for me. And of course, you're not sleeping for 72 hours. So she will have her waking moments where, you start to think about what am I going to do next? But the fact that you don't have to do anything and that there isn't actually all that much to do, that's part of that process. Because then the people that always need to do things now start to get it. Because they always need to do things. So now their mind is telling them, what is next? What is next? What am I going to achieve next? Well, actually, it doesn't matter because you're just here in darkness and everything is fine. And that's an amazing state to be in.
I can imagine. I'm sure you certainly lose track of time, Diederik, but in your experience, how far into the retreat were you when you really started to think about the deeper issues of life?
I think I think on day 2, that sort of fairly rapidly started to come to me. And like I said, in my case, that wasn't so much traumas, but I went through the history of my life and everything I've done and known. I've lived around the world. I've known a lot of people, but it ultimately, and if you look at my testimonial, because they create these wonderful testimonials of participants as well, it really turned me into the simplest person that I am. And it took away all the clutter, and it took away all the things that aren't really necessary and aren't necessarily a part of me. If I consider myself alone in a dark space, then I know exactly what to love, what to do, and how to be and how to behave and how to be okay with myself. And that may sound shallow, but it is a huge accomplishment if you're otherwise constantly run by the mind, by things you need to do, to actually be okay with yourself, to sort of hug yourself and go, this is all right.
Well, it's very powerful, I'm sure. As a person who lives on lists and things to do, I can imagine that the emptiness sets in when you don't have a list to drive you and you have to look deeper, which is the point, AJ, of why you did this, correct?
Yes. I mean, this is incredible what can happen when you see the nature of the mind. The storytelling and driving your sense of identity from those stories. And treating, the present moment, which is actually all that we have, Lisa. There is nothing else that you have right now. But there's a moment, the future hasn't been born yet. It's yet to come, you see. And in this sense, it's imaginary, you see. And very often we don't appreciate, we don't put our attention in the present moment. We treat it as a mean to get something in the future. It's always something out there more attractive, more important than this and that. And in the darkness, you can realize how precious the present moment could be. And how the mind is driving, I call it unobserved mind. Some authors call it ego. Ego equals unobserved mind. It always operates on the story of the past or imaginary future. It depends on narrative. Either it's so, dramatic and bad, or future you're afraid of, or it's so great, and your compass, or you're looking forward to something. And
well, I think for me, I'm thinking about, the introspection is important. We don't take that time in modern life. There's always a distraction. And even at night in your room, it's never completely dark. And then I'm the kind of person that's like, I want to write down what I thought or learned, and there's no way to do that. And then you worry, oh, will I remember it? And these are all the struggles that I guess you have to deal with when you're alone in this space.
The biggest obstacle for the happy life, I call it, satisfactory life, meaning peace of mind and joy of life. Really, the life at fullest is what? Is fear. What you are describing right now, it's my dear friend, FOMO, fear of missing.
FOMO, right.
If I don't write this insight, oh my God, then I'm going to miss something. Maybe I will not share with people or this and that. It's always out there, fear is. And imagine not writing and being all right with that.
I can't imagine it, but I'm glad that there's a place that paves a way for you to imagine that, for you to experience this. Let's talk a little bit about the logistics of operating one of these facilities. I mean, you have to have staff, I guess, 24/7 on call, right? In case somebody hits that panic button, and the food has to be prepared. And, what kind of people work there? How many people does it take to support the 5 cabins you're running now?
So we have, few positions. So first of all, it's, of course, security that is always on call and someone can react swiftly. Then the key role is the retreat counselor. It's clinical psychologist by training on the spiritual path, meaning someone who is not only with the engage with the psychiatry or psychology someone who has done darkness himself or herself, very often several times, and they can really lead people, not from the school and of psychology perspective. So we don't do any therapies, but this person can hold a space. If someone is in any type of crisis, they can hold the space. They welcome the guests. They visit the guests every day. They speak to them. Before darkness cabin, there is a pre-room, and through the wooden doors, they speak. And sometimes, they sit in silence. That's what I often do as well. Then we've got the retreat manager who organize your, everything, or your logistics, organize that the food is warm and everything is clean. And so that would be basically the key people. Of course, we've got wonderful, people from the service, from the maintenance and kitchen, which I really respect and I adore. For them, they see these little miracles, you see, Lisa? They see these tired people sometimes, on the face, and suddenly after 3-4 days, they're all stretched and they smile, look at our website and all these testimonials. These people are so happy, when they come out. And our staff, our employees, they witness this, you see, and they say after every week how grateful they are that they work with us. So, it's this mission not only fulfills me, but everyone around this.
Nice.
This kind of, substance-free, totally, rooted in the ancient tradition, but innovative methods to recalibrate, to self-rejuvenate, to self-discover is incredible.
Let's talk about what happens afterwards to the person. If I do the retreat, I do the 3 days in darkness, I come out. What can I expect changed-wise in myself, and how long does that last?
This is a wonderful question, and I'm grateful that you asked that. So first of all, because we are breaking the paradigm, I take something to get something.
Mm-hmm.
So I take something.
Right.
You see, in this paradigm we live. I have to go to the blue water and the beautiful plants, and then I will feel relaxed because I cannot hear. Oh my God, it's so toxic, it's so bad. You see, this is what it's always there, somewhere there. Someone is going to give me medicine, supplements, method, I don't know what. Then I will finally feel one.
Mm-hmm.
With darkness, there is nothing of that.
There is nothing. I love that.
It comes from within. The shift happens from within, and it's substance-free, stimulation-free, method-free, religion-free. That's why what we see right now, that the people coming out of darkness, this shift changes their life, and they report in 3 months, 6 months. I get so many wonderful messages. And some of them, I can share this with you, start from the same, like, hi, AJ, I've been thinking about darkness retreat and yourself for the last 3 months, Guess what has happened in my life? And one of the, when we were in London together, Dr. Ash Kapoor was also in the darkness. And then I haven't heard from him. A couple of months later, he invited me to speak because his life changed. There was a shift which is growing. Typically, when we go on holidays, we feel great after holiday. During holidays, good. After holidays, but, God forbid someone 2 months later asks us, how was your holiday?
Right. You're like, what holiday?
What holiday? And the same is with other stuff. If you stop your supplementation, or your boost or your plant medicine stops working, we go back in the square one. Here is something else. So that's number one. We see this because when people go out of the darkness, they are with a group who was in the same time in the darkness, but they connect via screen with people who left the darkness 2 weeks ago, 2 months ago, 1 year ago, and we get satsang together. So they share how was their experience in the darkness, those who are on site, but the others, they speak about life after darkness.
Oh, like there's a Zoom or something with people who've done it previously. I love that.
It is incredible.
It's called a satsang. You just, AJ mentioned it quickly now, but it's called a satsang. It's a circle of truth, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
And it's lovely.
It's 40 minutes, sometimes 1 hour, sometimes half an hour. It's very easy. Everyone says from the heart. So it's definitely sustainable. And right now we want to test it clinically, So we run a pilot study on effects of sensory deprivation, light deprivation with 3 universities, including University of Zurich, Polish universities, American universities. So we have professors from different universities that got, interested in this because, if we can treat with the darkness, burnout, depression, and anxiety disorder, wow, without any substances.
Without any substances at all, right?
And those scientists, this is the first question. We will test this, but regardless what are the results, we want to test those subjects of these clinical trials, those people who went through this in 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
So right now we are finishing the first phase, and in 6 months we'll know more. I'm super excited about it. I know empirically, because I know, I'm with this, that most probably will do good. But let science and scientists, to do their work. There is the effects of the darkness. You have to divide in 3 layers, and I will not mention all. But first of all, it's physiological. So people report, first of all, because of recalibration of the circadian rhythm, that they sleep better, they have a better memory, and they have clarity. You see, it's all taken away. And it's because of biochemical processes, mainly huge secretion of melatonin that comes. And there are no other way that, to be only 2 days, 48 hours in total darkness, that the brain does this, that will inject such an amount of melatonin. Also hormonal regulation on a physiological level and decreasing of hormones of stress. On the mental level, people get resilience towards adversities of life. And I had this one participant that she called me the other day, and she said, AJ, I went through this horror, so many so-called bad things happen. And I said, so I'm really sorry. She said, no, don't be sorry. I asked myself, would that matter in the darkness? And then instantly I was calm. So, life happens, problems happen, diseases happen, accidents happen. And it's about our narrative, Lisa. How long we continue to say, there are people that, their plane got canceled, or they broke, something didn't go according to the plan, and they would tell you this 10 years later, but you know what, in Frankfurt, they canceled my plane, and you can hear them in the line. Lately, they canceled my plane, and the lady started calling. She was calling mother, friends, sisters. You don't know what has happened. They canceled my plane, and what do they do every 4 hours later? I'm sorry. And she was like going out and calling everyone. I was standing behind her. And then she suddenly turned and said, why are you smiling? And I couldn't stop. I was laughing when she started. I said, listen, because I can't do anything about it.
Right. So why get so upset because your plane was canceled, but we're so stressed out? That's a great example.
It's your narrative. So people who have reduced because of overstimulation, it's nothing wrong with them. Don't misunderstand me. To overstimulation, to this and all the time information, all the time, something you have to process, your resilience towards those adversities is lowering and lowering. And then you are on the verge of depression that you cannot take it anymore. Therefore, you are burnout. And then you start to have panic attacks and anxieties. So throughout darkness, because it's quite intrusive, yet comfortable. You see? You kind of regain this strength. You see, okay, it's just my thought. This is what has happened. It's not existing anymore. It is in the past. There is no Lisa from 2023. We cannot hack her. It's this Lisa that is looking to me through the screen. Oh, so maybe I will stop telling myself and all the others about these stories. And what has happened, who knows? And in the darkness, you can also realize how many times you were predicted this horror, kind of scenarios that this will happen, that will happen, and it didn't happen.
As part of your intake process, I mean, are you explaining to people what this might feel like and how to mentally prepare? Is that part of the conversation that happens beforehand?
Of course, on the first step with the retreat counselor, what we do the letter to yourself. And you process before you go out with the darkness, you process a lot of stuff. But before the darkness, we have quite, I would say, restrictive, exclusion protocol. So darkness is not for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
So if someone is addicted to the substances or is in recovery from substances less than 6 months due to, risk of withdrawal, symptoms, cannot go into the darkness. Several, psychiatric diagnoses like, borderline, bipolar, schizophrenia, exclude darkness. So yes, people who, have to, I don't know, inject insulin, they have to take some medication daily, and lack of intake or, losing all this medication in the darkness would be, life-threatening or health-threatening. They're also not suitable for the darkness. So here, quite precise who can go into the darkness.
That's good. That's good to know. Who's the ideal guest? Like what kind of people does this really work great for?
We have 4 groups, I tell you. And one group, I love when they come in this, they're one of 5, but from different walks of life. So first of all people who want, modern type, I call it, of longevity and well-being, who are looking for a substance-free methods to increase their resilience, their mental well-being. Number 2, they are spiritual seekers. They have so many of those who did vipassanas and meditation. Some did plant medicine, many of those. And they know I still, I feel great when I meditate, but then when I get to work, I don't feel so great. So they look for something else, and they know that there is this ancient tradition darkness that can allow them to awaken. So it's number 2. Number 3 would be, adventurers. So all people who like, some extreme, some different type of experience, they would come to us. And number 4, there are people who struggle with mental health issues, especially depression or burnout. And they went to the, different kind of therapies, talk therapies for 2-3 years. It didn't work. They took some antidepressants. It didn't work really for them. And they look for some other solution, which would be safe, but maybe could work, for them. So that would be the 4 groups.
That's lovely. I love how you categorize that. And there's plenty of people, in each of those segments around the world. What's the return rate? Like when a guest leaves, how soon would you say is there a guideline for how often to do this? And do you have people returning for second and third visits at this point?
I love your question. Yesterday, I was presenting here in Switzerland in Zug, and it was exactly the question, also combined because they were finance people with subscription model. I really hope that they never have to come back. You understand? So that's why I call it ultimate retreat. Not only because I believe we have program that is really, tweaked to the perfection, but maybe it's your last retreat.
Ultimate darkness retreat because it's the last one you'll ever need.
Maybe, perhaps, that you never need any type of retreat where you are where you stop believing that you have to fix yourself. Maybe you can start enjoying your life at fullest, and bringing to others and to yourself this joy, this freedom. So, but of course, there are people who come back. Very often, people send their spouses.
That makes sense. I'm enlightened now. You need to go.
And also their friends. So we have many people who refer their family and friends. So I don't believe you have to repeat it at any time. If you open to the fundamental truths who you really are for your own self, it's your own truth. You can tackle love in its essence. Because love is not about feeling great or getting this, I will love you if you dance with me. I will love you if you sleep with me. But if you sleep with someone else, then I don't love you, It's a deal, you see? The true love is about freedom, allowing to live according to your own truth. But you first have to allow yourself to live according to your own.
You need to know what that own truth is first before you can live it, right? So
You can allow the others.
Diederik, you're a business development advisor for the company. I'm sure the plan is to grow this Ultimate Darkness Retreat from the single location with 5 pods and 5 more being built into what? I mean, what do you envision? How many of these do you see happening in the world?
Well, I know that if I ask AJ, that he sees an enormous number, and I happen to believe that if someone's going to do it, he's going to do it, and I'm really happy to do it with him. It's such a profound and powerful experience, and it's interesting that AJ mentioned AA and those kind of meetings that people know. What I've always loved about those, not that I frequent them all too much, but what I've always loved about them is that there seems to be no hierarchy, and they're properly purpose driven. They come from purpose, and that's the motivation for every part of it. And I would say that Within has that as well, and I think that's why it will do really well. And the plan basically is to take the stress nucleuses of the world. So take London, take New York, take Amsterdam, take Sydney, it could be anywhere in the world where those stress centers are really manifest. And then close to those stress centers, there should be a Within. So people can find that place and recalibrate and find themselves and find that joy, etc. Everything we've been talking about. So you can imagine how many stress centers the world currently has. I mean, in your own podcast as well, there's been so many physicians, psychologists, all of them who are all aware that the stress factor currently is of pandemic proportions, and it makes everything worse. Anywhere in the clinical world, in the physiological, but also the psychology of people. Stress is a huge thing, and this tackles stress in such a particular and beautiful way and substance-free that I think once it catches on, and it's already doing that, I think we'll see many of them, and hopefully, the Within brand will be the brand of all darkness retreats that we would. I mean, that's obviously, as a business developer, that's what I would like to see.
So if I'm an investor listening to this, what would you say in terms of what's needed? What's the capital outlay to get one open? Is 5 the right amount of pods to have, more or less? Give me a brief summation of what that looks like.
Let me pick up.
Yeah.
So ideal center is 10 cabins.
Mm-hmm.
And, we welcome investors on 2 levels. So real estate investors who would allow, to build on the ground, on the real estate that they own. And we are going to pay rent, secure 15 years lease and so on and so forth with excellent conditions. That would be the one investors who would like to have tenants, sustainable income. Others, it's on our operating company level. Those who would like to, help us roll it and operate it in the world, first in Europe, then in US. We are doing the seed capital right now. We invested already a couple of $1 million of, my and my family money. And now we do just 1 million round. It's a pre-seed round to make sure that we have our centers in UK, in Germany, and in Netherlands. So it's not very capital intense when it comes to operations. When it comes to the real estate, I think it's typical real estate play. So every center needs around $3 to $5 million to be started.
Okay. And are they best located in remote areas, or can you sound and dark proof it even near an urban area?
It has to be something in between, you see. I believe it has to be within 1 hour drive, more or less, from the airport or from the busy metropolis, busy city, but it has to be in the nature. it has to be in the nature because
In nature.
yes, it's for the preparation, also for the integration. We want to be in the nature. Currently, we have few options outside London, but we are making sure that it's not far away, more than 1 hour drive from the airport.
No, that seems smart. And you're right. I mean, the people that need this are in the urban areas, but it makes sense that an hour seems very reasonable.
Yes, they have to go out, but we don't want our participants to travel in the remote area. We are right now in Poland. The prototype is in totally remote area, but people have children, they have responsibilities. It's much easier for me, living in New York or in Paris or in London. Okay, I go for the darkness of it, but I know I am 1 hour away from.
No, you're right. That's important too.
Especially that I don't have a contact during the time, but I can agree with the retreat counselor. This is the number. My wife can call you. We have small children or whatever situation or work situation. If they call you, take me out of darkness, and you are immediately back.
Okay.
So I believe in that. This is another, this is my modern approach for the comfort. I want to bring people comfort. That's why I want to be close to them, but it has to be in the nature.
Makes sense. Okay. So this has been fascinating. Before we close, is there anything either of you would like to add that we haven't discussed about the impact of a darkness retreat?
Yeah, I have a question.
Go ahead.
Going to visit us and
Boy, I thought about that when I spoke to Diederik. I thought, well, it would be really interesting to experience this, but 3 days, could I do it? I don't know. But, you have to test yourself. It brings us back to the name. I love that you called it within because it communicates that the answers are in you, right? It's not that we don't need outside input and drugs and therapies. Often the answer is within us. And this gives you that opportunity to go there in a protected way and managed way, which is very appealing. So I think this is going to be very popular, and I'm excited to share this news with the world.
I really appreciate
AJ Stepaniak and Diederik van Middelkoop, thank you so much for joining us. The website is theultimatedarknessretreat.com. The company is called Within. Check it out. It is the next wave in, I think, popular retreats in the wellness industry. Thank you both for joining us.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa.
So, listeners, thank you for tuning in so far to the first half of Season 9 of the StarrCast Podcast. We are recording this in mid-December, and we are about to take a short holiday hiatus. So look for us in your inboxes if you are subscribed, which I hope you are, for the first week of January. And we will continue with another lineup of exciting speakers from the wellness professional world. Thanks so much for listening, and enjoy the holidays.